So, hello, Miss Shannon. Thank you for seeing me.
Wonderful. So, another week, another lesson, not another week, but so this was a math lesson, was it?
Actually, it wasn't. It was in the English book.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, with mathematic connections then.
Yes.
Okay. And walk me through again, like what you thought of your lesson.
Again, very stiff for this lesson as well. I was way too focused on what I need to do to remember all the standards that I needed to remember, of which we have three, and I created a list so I can base my lesson plan off of that. And in the end, it was, didn't go as I expected. I think I covered my bases overall.
Mm-hmm.
Also helps that the kids were really strong at that.
Mm-hmm.
I found myself repeating very good, robotically a lot, and I never do that. But in this case, what should I do?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have differentiation, which was something that I was planning to really do this time, and I didn't. I should have created extra materials just in case. I should have made it more student focused, and it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got a pretty clear idea, I think, about how to do that, and I've started using some of your ideas with giving intrinsic motivation to students. I've asked students, for example, for a test, that this is for you to find out how you are. Do you want to know how you feel with English? And yeah, and then I found them that it really worked. So I started implementing that. I looked more into giving power to the students so that they would get to pick who goes next, so that they would pick their own materials. I would provide them with materials. I would ask them what are the instructions based on the picture of the final product in other lessons. So, for example, they had to design a rocket for global skills and well-being for today. It was also about instructions. And I showed them the final product. At first, when I was planning this, I thought, I would give them the instructions based on the book. But then I thought, I think they're smart enough so that they could find out what the instructions are for themselves. So let's brainstorm this step before they get to do it. I did that, and then they simply chose two pupils, and I showed them how to choose their own teams, because they always argue, I don't want to work with so-and-so.
Yeah.
And at this point, I wanted them all to participate in a friendly environment, in a safe environment for them. So I didn't go for heterogeneous or homogeneous grouping. I wanted them to simply focus with their friends on creating a product based on the instructions that they themselves created.
Right.
And so in the end, I got them to, see who chooses first. So I got two pupils. One of them would choose a teammate first, and the next one would choose someone else, and so on until the whole class was made into two teams. I provided them with the materials. They got to choose the materials that they needed based on the product, and then they went ahead and did that, and they finished on time. They had about 25 minutes to create a toy paper rocket. Yeah.
So that kind of really ties into this lesson well, with your understanding of student agency. Okay, so I had a really big question when watching your video, and excuse me, and seeing the subtitles of "This is Student Agency."
Yeah.
So do you remember what you labeled as student agency in this video?
A few things, yes. I put about two of them, I guess.
I remember two of them.
Yeah.
What were they? It was the same thing both times.
It
was the students choosing who goes next.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah,
so
that's right.
If you compare that activity with the one that you just described, which one do you think better identifies or displays student agency?
The one I just
explain about. Why?
Well, because they get to choose. The whole process is in their hands. I'm just there to guide them a little bit.
Yeah. So student agency is about the students setting the goal and the students acting. Okay, like they act on the goal, on the activity, and the more it's kind of synonymous with ownership. Okay?
Yeah.
So when you say to the student, okay, choose who's next, That's not really agency.
Fair enough.
Okay, that's more like, okay, do this task, because
Mm.
you've set the goal. All they have to do is name a person. There's no voice or choice. Like student voice, choice, and agency are kind of three things that go together. Okay, so in the activity you described about the toy rocket,
Yeah.
they've got lots of choice because they choose their partners. They might choose the way that they model the rocket. They might choose the resources. Their voice is the instructions, right? And student agency is them going through that whole process. And it's 25 minutes instead of 3 seconds.
When it comes to...
Well, here in your video,
right,
it's like,
yes,
okay,
yes.
choose somebody.
Okay.
3 seconds later, they're done.
Indeed. Yes.
Right? And you've got 25 minutes of this really good. Did you video it?
I didn't.
You should have. You should have. Yeah.
What's that on there?
Well, it's a great learning opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Because you know, like, how did you feel when you came out of that class?
Oh, much better. Much better, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just there to, supervise, take down feedback based on what they speak.
Yeah.
Just getting a new language that they might need for later.
Yeah.
Getting my assessments ready for them.
Sure. And was that in itself, was it an assessment?
It became an assessment. I mean, everything is an assessment. Yeah.
It should be. Yeah. Because if you're going through it and you're looking for language, either language that the students are using and you're assessing how they've adapted it or adopted it, or you're looking for language that's missing and it's driving how you teach your next lesson, right?
Yeah.
That's all assessment. Good. Okay. Tell me about how you interacted with the students in your rocket lesson. Tell me about the language that you used with the students.
I felt that I used age and level appropriate language, and I ICQ'd and CCQ'd them based on what I said, just to be sure that there is understanding, that everything's clear. It was all me. I showed them the final product. So, like, for this step, just for this step of the project itself, I showed them the final product. I asked them if they like it. Yes, they do. They were keen to. And from the very beginning of the lesson, they knew that they would do that. So I've started doing that, just telling them what we would go through today. And at the end,
expectations, right? Creating clear expectations.
Yes.
I felt like in the video that was really clear as well.
Okay.
Yeah, really good. Spot on.
Thank you. So I started doing that, and at the end, I get a little reflection stage of what have we talked about today, how can we use it, and then we take our homework, our rewards if there are any, and feedback on the behavior as well.
And what grade is this?
This is grade 2.
Grade 2. Okay.
They're 7 years of age.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen in your lessons, from what I've seen in your videos, a lot of the language that you use is performance language.
Okay.
So from a teacher, you're the person at the front of the room, and you're performing to get the students engaged. Okay. So what I was really curious about is in your rocket lesson, because it's such an authentic learning opportunity for the students, did you change the way you spoke to them?
I think I did.
Because you're probably not there performing for them, right? So that's something that you should really consider. And I don't mean for you to change it, okay? But I want you to look at how students interact with you when you use, okay, students, this is what we're going to do. Are you ready? Like, that's performance style, okay? When you're doing that, as opposed to when you are engaged with them, maybe even one-on-one or small group, and how they interact with you more. Okay, just over the next couple of weeks, take a look at it.
Okay.
Right? Because what you might find is that you get deeper responses from the students when you are not performance-based.
So it's more personal then.
It's much more personal.
Okay.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like one-on-one or one in small groups. Mm-hmm. Even if you're engaging the whole class, my gut instinct is that they will respond to you more authentically than if you're doing performance-based speaking. Mm. It's just something to think about, right? To see how they respond differently. And the reason I say this is because they are used to doing performance-based speaking themselves in front of their Vietnamese teachers.
I see.
If you think about rote learning,
yeah,
and rote response,
yeah,
you know, our students have a specific phrase that they say to the teacher at the beginning of each class, right? But we don't do that, and we get a much more authentic engagement from our students when we greet the class. Yeah?
Indeed.
Okay. All right. It's just something to think about, right? Because how we deliver ourselves affects how the students engage with us. Yeah.
There's a question about that, though. Between keeping it personal and keeping it professional, I'm sure it's a great line. I think it's always a great line.
Yeah.
How would you describe that great line a bit? You know, as in what's too authentic? I know there is a line. I'm trying to, I think I'm slowly getting there. Mm-hmm. Different schools have different approaches, and here they really love it, that performance-based speaking. They really love it. And so we begin the lesson, we can't begin the lesson until everyone stands up, everyone says hello in unison, and then they get to sit down.
Yeah.
So that's still the part that's kind of required from the school.
Yeah.
After that, that's me.
Yeah.
Still, though, over my career, we can call that, I've noticed that the more personal you are, the cheekier they get sometimes.
Yeah, they can. They certainly can. Yeah. But I think it's up to us to ensure that there's respect, right? That we go through the rules every class, and we know no bad language. We know everything in English. And then it's holding the students accountable, right? So if they start to get cheeky and you say like, okay, are we following the rules? Are we behaving properly? Are we all using English still? And the other thing that you can do to kind of, counteract that cheekiness is your positive reinforcement.
Okay.
Right? So I know you had it a couple of times in here. Positive, and this is something you mentioned when you came in today. You said I kept saying, "Oh, good job," right? But saying "good job" is kind like if I said to you, "Oh, good job today,"
kind of a buzzword.
Exactly, and you're going like, "Oh yeah, but what part was good?" Or did I, what does that really mean? Was it really good? Or so so if we have a student, we hear somebody speaking Vietnamese, right? But we have a table that's sitting together speaking English. Oh, look at table one. You guys are really committed to our school or to our classroom rules of speaking English. Thank you very much. Did everybody see them speaking English?
Yeah.
That's positive reinforcement. Okay. So yeah, just kind of like expanding on that good job. And it's not necessarily about being first or second, or being fast or being loud or quiet or whatever. But it's about expanding on what did they actually do.
Yeah. So what was the good job, not just it's over. It's kind of a mini transition.
Yeah. And a lot of the times we can change that the praise into words like, "Oh, thank you for collaborating so well together," or "Thank you for picking up that piece of garbage and putting it away." It's not just like a pat on the back, right? It's showing your appreciation or your gratitude. So just more ways to think it through.
Well, I'm actually happy that I actually do that a lot more.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Good. Have you felt like that's like conscious change in the past couple of months?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
good.
I have, yeah. Again, yeah, so just to like, look how Miss Wang was sitting, you know?
Yeah.
And then everyone was, oh dear, she said nicer than me. You know? Yeah, so that was great. That was great. Um, Good feedback in public, bad feedback in private.
Exactly. One last question.
Yeah.
Have you and Ms. Ling had a conversation about her role as a TA?
Just a little bit, to be fair.
It might be to your benefit, to the two of you, and to your students' benefit, if you guys sit down and talk about the different ways that TAs can help. Okay, so there's a lot of different partnerships that you can create, right? Right now, you're the teacher and she does the side business.
Yeah.
You know, she hands out the papers or she disciplines or whatever. Sometimes she'll come on stage.
Yes.
Right? But there's no reason why she couldn't be teaching that lesson. And you're working with students who need more support or students who need extending.
Yes.
Right? Or there's no reason why you do one and she does the next, or she does one and you do the next, right? So if you want, I can share a document with you. It has like about 6 different co-teaching styles.
Okay.
And you can either use that to facilitate a conversation, or you can just kind of like internalize it and say, okay, next time I'm going to, try and do whatever.
Okay.
Right? But I'll share that with you.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll definitely look over that. What I usually ask of her is to sometimes circulate. Sometimes, again, when we have groups, like 2 or 4 big groups, we would just like, she would go over there, we'd go over here, and she knows we're not going to sit next to each other.
Sure.
We're not going to stand next to each other.
Yeah.
I need her to demo some activities if the activity proves too difficult. And sometimes I ask the kid to come and demo instead. Yeah, so, or sometimes they just ask, like, can you just translate that word?
Right.
Just that word.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got trouble with other co-teachers. Yeah, the co-teachers I've got at home. Like, can you please say this word? And then she publicly like, oh, that's not a good idea. We contradict each other in private, not in front of kids. Yeah. Stuff like that.
But, so that's like, if you have those conversations with your TAs prior to coming into the class, like, and include them in your planning. Like this is the lesson plan for tomorrow's class. I'd like you to do A, B, C.
Okay.
And if you're really co-teachers, you'll plan together. If you're really co-teachers, right? But if she's only an assistant, then sharing the lesson plan with her is good practice, right?
Okay. I never thought about including, for example, her and some other sometimes. I never thought about it. It's like, what would she do? Kind of felt that diminishes, like, oh, Alex is a lesser teacher if he needs help.
But it's not help, right? Because you're both the teachers of the classroom. She might still have the same responsibilities that she does right now.
Yeah.
But you could, in your lesson plan, you could already be identifying students who need additional support or who need a different tool, right? And conferring with her to say, do you think like this is a good tool for this student to use? Because she probably spends more time with that student already, right? And she probably knows that student a little bit better than even you do.
That's true.
So
she's got a connection with Queen Chi there. She helps her like a lot. The Queen Chi's a little girl who's below level. She's pretty much the only one in class.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, so, there you go, right?
Yeah,
so true. Like you could actually in your lesson plan put a column, right? A Quincy column, right? So that the Miss Ling comes in to your planning session and said, this is really what I want to do for the whole class. What can we do with Quincy? Right?
Differentiation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you're supporting clean sheet, you're validating the work that your TA does, and you don't have the problems of, no, I'm not going to translate that.
All right. Yeah, good point.
It's kind of a lot of takeaways today. But
I'm definitely going to rewatch this.
okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Cheers.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Good job.
Thanks for listening.
All right.